chọc tơ pê tơ thì nam pê thôi thì là còn bà nó nào tới chọc không thêm chọc luôn đấy lại thật đấy.
Cambodia is one of Southeast Asia's fastest-growing economies. Phnom Penh is rising fast. New high-rises, malls, and transit lines shape the skyline. Tourism has surged back with over 6.7 million international visitors in a year. But nearly 11 million people still lack access to safe drinking water. Cambodia ranks among the worst for intact plastic waste along its shores. How can a country modernize so quickly while leaving so many behind? This isn't the past. It's the Cambodia the world rarely sees. Number 1. Overview of pollution in Cambodia. When people talk about pollution in Cambodia, they often think in numbers. But to truly understand it, we have to start with something more real: spaces that urban maps often leave blank. Just 10 to 15 kilometers from the center of Phnom Penh, communities along the outskirts live between mud smoke and stagnant black water. Areas like Viel Spov Chpar Ampov and what used to be the Stung Minche landfill still carry the scars of decades of unmanaged waste. Every single day, Phnom Penh generates over 3,000 tons of household waste, but only around 80% is formally collected. The rest is dumped illegally, drifts into rivers, or is burned right next to where people live. Many canals that once supplied water now run dark, clogged with plastic and rotting trash that has never decomposed. But it's not just household waste. A large portion of pollutants comes from garment factories, plastic processing plants, metal workshops, and chemical discharge. Much of it quietly flows into the underground drainage system and ends up in the Mekong and Tonle Sap rivers. According to Cambodia's Ministry of Environment, a report from 2024 found that heavy metal concentrations in some urban waterways exceed safety limits by 2 to 3 times. Now, what matters most isn't just the waste, it's the people who have no choice but to live with it. Their homes are often built right next to trash sites made of scrap-wood tin roofs and layers of plastic sheeting. Children play beside drainage ditches. Adults wash vegetables in canal water. And the smell of burning plastic. It's just part of the morning routine. What's more, most of the people here are internal migrants. Families from poorer provinces who came to the city hoping for a better life, only to fall into the gaps left by rapid development. This is not a story about distant poverty. It's a story about proximity, how the line between progress and neglect can be just one street apart. And this is only the beginning. Because in Cambodia's race toward modernity, there are still entire zones, entire communities, and entire lives that have been left out of the picture. Number 2. Plastic waste pollution. Now let's shift our focus from the city's polluted edges to Cambodia's coastline, where another crisis unfolds silently. As of early 2025, a nationwide assessment across more than 200 coastal and riverbank sites recorded an average of 70 intact plastic items per meter of beach. That number puts Cambodia among the countries with the highest visible plastic loads along its shores. Most of this waste isn't industrial, it's household. Single-use bags, food wrappers, styrofoam boxes, and water bottles dominate the debris. In coastal provinces like Prea Sihanouk and Kep, studies show that the average household discards 12 plastic bags every day. Nearly half of that ends up directly in drains, open fields, or in the sea, especially on market days or during tourist peaks. The Mekong River, flowing through much of the country, carries tens of thousands of tons of plastic waste into the ocean every year. But these are just surface-level symptoms. The deeper issue lies inland. Despite being one of Asia's fastest-growing economies, Cambodia still struggles to provide affordable access to clean water and sanitation. For many families, especially in rural areas, installing a basic water connection or toilet remains out of reach financially. At the same time, Cambodia is also one of the countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Rising sea levels, saltwater intrusion, and shifting rainfall patterns are threatening water quality and access, especially for rural communities living close to the coast. Still, there's momentum. The Cambodian government has set an ambitious national goal. By the end of 2025, 100% of rural households should have access to improved water and sanitation services. The question is, will investment coordination and local implementation catch up in time? Along the coast, women are already doing what they can. On some beaches, they sort plastic debris into piles, some for resale, some to protect fishing nets, some just to clear walking paths for their children. They are cleaners, recyclers, caregivers, and often the first line of defense against pollution. This isn't just about plastic on the beach. It's about pressure, economic, environmental, and human. It's about who carries the burden when systems fall short. And in the next part, we'll follow these women into their homes, their daily routines, and their quiet resilience on the front lines of Cambodia's invisible crisis. Number 3. Consequences of burning garbage. Would you believe that the shirt you're wearing right now could be the reason someone else is struggling to breathe? It might sound unlikely, but this is a reality unfolding in Cambodia. The country produces millions of garments each year for global markets, yet what stays behind is not just fabric scraps, but the pollution they create. After every export order is completed, large amounts of textile waste are left over. In areas around Phnom Penh and Kandal province, these scraps are not safely recycled. Instead, they are sent to brick factories and used as fuel. At first glance, this might seem like a practical solution to reduce waste. But when fabric, especially synthetics like polyester and spandex, is burned, it releases toxic smoke into the environment. That smoke doesn't stay in the kiln. It drifts into nearby homes, schools, and workplaces. The Cambodian League for the Promotion and Defense of Human Rights, known as LICADHO, has interviewed workers living near these sites. Many of them, especially women, report having constant respiratory problems, headaches, and a noticeable decline in health during pregnancy. One of the underlying causes is the global appetite for synthetic clothing. In recent years, the rise of sportswear and work-from-home outfits has led to a surge in the use of plastic-based textiles. These materials do not break down naturally. When burned, they release harmful chemicals that linger in the air long after the fabric is gone. Today, polyester makes up almost 2/3 of all fabrics produced globally. It is cheap and convenient, but the environmental and health costs are high. The Cambodian Ministry of Environment has reported that the concentration of fine particulate matter, or particulate matter, 2.5 in Phnom Penh, has reached more than 30 micrograms per cubic meter. Although authorities say this level is not critical, residents often wake up to thick haze, especially in the early morning hours. For communities living next to brick kilns, this haze is not a passing condition. It is part of daily life. A single garment may bring comfort to one person and harm to another. When fashion leaves behind smoke, waste, and illness, it's worth asking, who really pays the price for what we wear? Number 4. The story of Yem. Sreypin Ron Ta. Ek wakes beneath an unfiltered sun that bakes red soil into powder. The fine dust drifts through open windows, settles on cooking pots, and clings to each breath. Yem Sreypin wipes it from her baby's cheeks, then lifts a clay lid to draw water for the morning meal. Far across the plain, the stone towers of Angkor Wat shimmer like a half-forgotten promise, close enough to seem impossible to reach. Her journey began when officials declared that her ancestral village inside the Angkor archaeological zone must be cleared for preservation and better tourist access. Along with thousands of neighbors, Sreypin climbed onto a flatbed truck and rode the length of half a day to this barren tract, an expanse 25 kilometers from the ruins that once shaped her life. The relocation program offered larger plots and the chance to build sturdier houses, but those advantages arrived wrapped in unexpected costs. On paper, her new lot spans 6,000 square feet. In practice, the ground is dry, unproductive, and a long walk from reliable work. She traded the shade of towering trees for a single-room shelter patched together with second-hand tin. Each night, the wind rattles the metal sheets, reminding her that the structure, like their finances, still feels temporary. 5 children share the space, while her husband searches for day labor at construction sites that pay little and finish quickly. The familiar routine of one gathering wild greens, trapping fish, or harvesting crabs disappeared with the rice paddies they left behind. And every meal now depends on a daily calculation of how many hours of sweat will translate into bowls of rice. Debt compounds that pressure. A modest loan secured the cement walls and corrugated roof, but rising interest threatens to undo any progress. Some evenings, Sreypin weighs the cost of a 20-kilogram sack of rice against the price of medicine for her coughing daughter, often choosing food and trusting that the cough will fade. The settlement's environment offers meager relief. Dry season winds sweep smoke from nearby fields across the unpaved lanes, tinting sunsets a dull orange and leaving throats raw. Government monitors record particulate levels above 30 micrograms per cubic meter and describe those numbers as acceptable. Mothers listening to children cough into the night doubt that reassurance. At first light, Sreypin ties back her hair, boils water patches uniforms, and sends her eldest down a dusty road toward a crowded classroom. Endurance has become her daily currency, one spent in small, determined increments. Her story exists between official promises and lived reality, where a woman clears dust from her doorstep and resolves once more to build a life the wind cannot carry away. Number 5. Unsanitary learning environment. Across Cambodia, progress in water sanitation and hygiene is visible but fragile. New wells shimmer in some villages, and concrete latrines stand where pits once lay open. Even so, the gap between policy goals and daily reality remains broad. In the poorest rural districts, 8 of every 10 people still relieve themselves in fields along riverbanks or behind bushes. Human waste left near homes and waterways travels quickly, especially during the rains, carrying bacteria that settle in drinking cups and on children's hands. Open defecation keeps diseases in constant circulation and turns simple stomach upsets into life-threatening infections for the very young. Clean water is hardly guaranteed. 1 in every 3 Cambodians still drinks from sources that are considered unimproved, meaning the water often comes in direct contact with human or animal waste. Mothers boil pot after pot, hoping the rolling bubbles will erase what their eyes cannot see. Sometimes fuel runs out and the water is served as it is. Schools where children spend half their waking hours are not always the safe havens parents imagine. 7 out of 10 preschools offer no functioning toilets, no reliable taps, and no soap. In older grades, the absence of separate facilities forces many adolescent girls to miss class during menstruation, slowly eroding their chances to keep pace with the curriculum. The consequences echo in national statistics. Child stunting persists, and deaths linked to diarrheal disease refuse to fall as quickly as the country's economic indicators suggest they should. Knowledge about proper hygiene is growing, but habits change slowly when the tools are missing. Against this backdrop, the government has set an ambitious goal: universal access to improved water and sanitation for rural households by the end of 2025. UNICEF and other partners support the effort, delivering pipes, constructing gender-separated toilets, and providing adolescent girls with facilities to manage their menstrual cycles in privacy. They also bring curriculum materials that teach hand-washing as diligently as reading and mathematics. Real success, however, will depend on more than infrastructure. It will hinge on whether every household can afford a tap, whether every teacher enforces hygiene breaks, and whether every community believes that clean water is not a privilege, but a right. For the thousands who share its landscape of dust and rising smoke, that right cannot come soon enough. Number 6. Cambodia culture. Culture in Cambodia is woven from many kinds of thread. The most visible strand is stone seen in the soaring towers of Angkor and in village pagodas where saffron cloth drapes weathered Buddhas. Buddhism guides daily life for a large majority of the population. Monks chant at dawn, bless rice fields at planting, and collect alms in silent lines that remind communities to give before they take. However, stone and ritual alone do not define the spirit of the country. On festive evenings, village courtyards turn into open-air theaters. Young women raise their fingers in the delicate arcs of the Royal Ballet of Cambodia, a dance tradition that UNESCO named an intangible treasure 2 decades ago. In the same performance space, older men drum rhythms for the Spektom shadow play, the giant leather puppets casting stories of Ramayana heroes across white linen screens. These arts once teetered on the edge of extinction after years of conflict, but master teachers who survived have spent patient decades training a new generation, ensuring the stories will still be moving long after the audiences change. Music threads through daily life as well. The twang of the chape dangveng, a 2-string long neck lute, drifts from tea shops where wandering minstrels sing improvised verses about love harvest and politics. During Pichumben, the festival honoring ancestors' families gather at temples with sticky rice cakes and sugar palm sweets. During Khmer New Year, they sweep out their houses, paint fresh murals on stupa walls, and toss perfumed water in playful battles that wash away the heat and the past year's misfortune. Handcrafts remain a quiet backbone of identity. In the Northwest, silk weavers tie thousands of tiny knots to create ikat patterns, while silversmiths near Phnom Penh hammer lotus petals into ceremonial bowls. Each craft tells a story about geography, faith, and family trade secrets passed from mother to daughter, or from uncle to nephew. Global markets now purchase many of these items, but the pride in the making is still local. Cultural change is arriving with every new smartphone tower. Teenagers scroll through global pop videos, then switch screens to rehearse Apsara steps recorded by their grandparents. Urban coffee shops stream Korean ballads, but the barista places a slice of Num Ansam banana rice on the saucer beside the latte. Tradition bends, but does not break. Number 7. Prolonged instability. Beyond the rising haze of pollution, Cambodia now faces 2 harsh storms. One rumbles along the northern frontier, the other hums through fiber optic cables. At dawn on the 24th of July, 2025, the long simmering border dispute with Thailand burst into open conflict. Within 6 hours, both armies rolled out heavy artillery. Thailand accused Cambodia of shelling civilian areas and reported 12 deaths, then launched F-16 fighters across the line in retaliation. The quarrel reaches back to a colonial-era map drawn under French rule. Cambodia cites that document to claim ancient temple sites. Thailand counters that the boundaries on the map are vague. The current flashpoint surrounds the temple Cambodians call Tamon Tom and Thais call Tamuen Tom. The sanctuary stands on Cambodian soil, yet the main access road is guarded by Thai troops. Every burst of gunfire halts trucks that carry cotton cement and rice-shaking supply chains and pushing farmers on both sides to abandon ripe paddies. While artillery echoes in the hills, another battle is fought behind mirrored glass. Cambodia hosts more than 64 special economic zones enclaves that enjoy generous tax breaks and light regulation. In these gray areas, cybercrime, human trafficking, and money laundering flourish. Inside towers lit around the clock, massive online scam operations run like factories. Hundreds of thousands of people from Thailand, India, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Taiwan have been lured by bogus job ads, stripped of passports, and forced to work. They are not employees, they are hostages. A recent report by the United States Agency for International Development estimates that 150,000 individuals may be held in such compounds. A raid earlier this year freed 100 Thai citizens, 50 Pakistanis, 48 Indians, and dozens of others. Those who cannot pay ransom face beatings, electric shocks, and in some cases, death. The scam industry now generates roughly €11 billion each year, almost 1/4 of Cambodia's entire economic output. Jason Tower, country director for the United States Institute of Peace, put it bluntly. Cambodia has passed the tipping point where the shadow economy overwhelms the legal one, and the political elite can no longer fix the damage. Number 8. Lessons from Cambodia. Seen from above. Cambodia offers a vivid experiment. The rise of glass towers and a growth rate in the high single digits do not by themselves guarantee quality of life or social calm. Development that outruns people, and the planet eventually circles back to erode its own gains. Over the past 10 years, Phnom Penh has added dozens of shimmering high-rises, yet measurements of fine dust in the air and plastic on the beaches have climbed just as steadily. Rural latrines and wells have expanded, but 3 in 10 households still draw drinking water from sources that fail basic safety tests. A reminder that social infrastructure demands more than a promise of investment. Border skirmishes and a swelling shadow economy underline how quickly internal security weakens when oversight is thin. Special economic zones with light regulation have turned into havens for cybercrime. Once illegal profits begin to outpace legal ones, the social balance tilts. The strain lands hardest on those least able to bear it. Women juggle pollution, unsafe jobs, and the lure of fraudulent offers. Children risk dropping out of school, catching waterborne disease, or leaving home altogether when shells fall near their villages. The lesson is clear. Sustainable growth needs 3 pillars moving together. First, environmental infrastructure that meets standards. Second, a safety net that shields the vulnerable. Third, enforcement is strong enough to keep the underground economy from overshadowing the legitimate one. Remove any one pillar and impressive numbers on paper mask a fragile reality where land, water, and daily lives can collapse without warning. Amid the smoke, plastic, and unclean water, we watched Cambodian mothers stretch every scrap of hope to keep their families alive. A reminder that modern progress means nothing if it leaves entire communities breathing poison and drinking disease. If their stories moved you, let's keep them heard. Please tap like, hit subscribe to NVL Travel Documentary. Share this film with someone who needs to see it. And now please answer my previous question. If you knew that the shirt you are wearing could be the cause of someone's respiratory illness, what would you do? Drop your answer in the comments below. Your voice can help turn awareness into action.